That's the Good Things. I'm your host, Rebecca Turner. Now, don't forget, you can listen to Good Things. We are streaming live over at supertalk.fm. We're also streaming from that SuperTalk Mississippi app and your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. And don't forget about watching us. We're on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. And I think we all can agree that our students could use some more movement throughout their school day. That's a good thing. And joining us today is Coach Larry Calhoun. He's trying to do that. He's the star of the Move to Learn initiative. And moms and dads and grandparents, if you're in the car rider line and you've got a K through 12 student in your back seat or in your front seat, ask them, have you ever had Move to Learn in your school? Because Coach Calhoun, you guys are in K through 12 schools. So welcome, yeah.
K through 12. Thank you for having us. Absolutely. Pre-K through 12th grade. There's something for everyone.
There's something for everyone. I think it's cool if they get to hear your voice because they've probably seen you on the TV. Us parents, though, probably don't know you that well unless we're substituting or working sort of in the schools. So give us a little background. I love this idea. Move to Learn. As a dietitian by trade, I absolutely recognize the importance of physical activity for our students' health. I think everyone listening to Good Things, though, recognizes that. You do not have to be a healthcare provider to recognize that. So explain a little bit about Move to Learn.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for having us because, you know, when we get these opportunities, it gives us an opportunity to reach out to people, like you said, who don't know. The children know, but what about the parents? What about the grandparents? What about the aunts, uncles, cousins who may not be familiar with us? Move to Learn the initiative started in 2012, and I have to say this, there's two people who are primarily responsible for this thing existing. I thought it was a crazy idea. But Mrs. Ann Travis with the Bauer Foundation, she's the CEO of the Bauer Foundation, and Mr. Scott Clements with the Mississippi State Department of Education and the Office of Child Nutrition, Office of Healthy Schools, they came to me with this idea that we could create a tool that could be used by any teacher throughout the state of Mississippi. And one of the things they did was they traveled the state of Mississippi and they started looking for success stories, and they covered the entire state of Mississippi. And at the end of the day, they came back and said, hey, what if we could create a small, minuscule tool that teachers could use to help with focus, concentration, time on task, tapping into happiness, help children feel joy, and really love and be excited about going to school? You see, I think there's a correlation between happy children and children who do better academically. And when I was a happy child, all of my classes seemed like fun, and my teachers made it that way. And so Move to Learn it's a tool. It's only 5 minutes of the time. Why 5 minutes? 5 minutes is the amount of time it takes to transition from one subject to the next, like math to reading. So it does not take away from the instructional quality. In fact, all the research and data indicates that you create an atmosphere where students can learn in a short period of time and yet go back to the books.
So this is like a Move to Learn. It's just a little bit of I would say a brain break, but it's movement. Like, so you're literally, are the kids getting up and sort of moving for 5 minutes in between those subjects?
Absolutely. So here's what happened. We know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know boys and girls cannot sit for long periods of time.
Adults don't.
There's some scientific reasons why we can't sit. And so what better way than to get the kids up and moving? Now, what Move to Learn does is you don't need any equipment. You don't have to be outside. You can be in your classroom with modern day or traditional desk. The kids, they stand up beside the desk, and when the teacher notices they're not focusing, they're not concentrating, they're not engaged, she say, okay, everybody stand up, we're gonna do a brain break. She goes to the website, she types in movetolearnms.org, or she types in m2l.tv. We pop up on the screen. She has a menu. On that menu, she selects the videos that are most appropriate for that age group. They stand there, they dance, they move, they do simple movements, but there's some stuff going on in their brain. So they think they're having fun, they're laughing, you're creating laughter, you're creating a little joy, they're moving, but their heart's pumping oxygenated blood to the brain. And what's happening to the brain is some amazing things that neuroscientists have found, that when children move, the heart is pumping oxygenated blood to the brain, and something known as neurogenesis. That's a scientific word that simply means they're growing new brain cells, billions of neurons, and these things are firing in their head. And so as this is happening, they're doing this, they sit down. When they sit down, they're more calmed, they're more focused, they can concentrate, they can spend more time on task, and now the teacher can engage in almost any lesson they want to teach at that time.
Because I would say teachers probably, and it feels like a little bit of a, looking at it a different way. If your kids are sort of acting up, or I would say not acting up, but just sort of being a little restless, you would think you need to hammer down, y'all settle down, whatever, instead of like rewarding that behavior. But what you're saying, Coach Calhoun, is that if you give them what they need, which is a little bit of wiggles and just a little bit of opportunity to get it out, then you're going to save time by them being more refocused after the 5 minutes.
Absolutely. And I think that some of the modern day 21st century research, it shows us this. There are receipts, and there's research done all over the country, but particularly there's been some research, the research that was done here in Mississippi, University of Southern Miss, Ole Miss, those schools have helped us. Delta State University, those schools have looked at this thing and they said, hey, wait a minute. What all of them agree on is that movement is not a bad thing. And you mentioned earlier, not just for children, but now they're saying that adults can benefit from this. But from an academic standpoint, we know that it can help dissipate that pent-up energy. We know that it can help boys and girls be more calmer. We know that it can tap into happiness. We know that it can elicit some laughter and some joy. And in this world of stress, anxiety, fear, worry, and sometimes conflict, we all could use that.
And sometimes you just need to break the ice, too. I love the idea for, workplaces for adults. Especially, those stale cubicles or just everything where it's tense. It's like, okay, everybody up and act a fool for 5 minutes, but with the specific reason, and then sort of brings the team sort of back together and reminds you that, life's too important to take so seriously, but that movement is serious in terms of when it comes to our kids learning. I would assume, Coach Calhoun, you're on my team where teachers shouldn't punish by keeping recess time away, because I would love to make that like some kind of, you can't do that.
Well, you're an expert in nutrition, and so you know that the correlation between nutrition and movement and all that. And so why give children these good calories, these good foods to eat, which produce energy? And what are they going to do with that energy? Well, we know what girls and boys will do, but particularly a boy, I can tell you from my own experience, if I've had a good lunch, a nutritious meal, I'm going to have energy for the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours and beyond. And what better way to help control that than through movement?
So you mentioned that there's a menu. So these brain breaks with Move to Learn, Coach Calhoun, are they specific to the different subject matters, or is it more of song choices? What's in the menu?
That's a great question. So the pre-K through first, second grade, third grade videos have content from the curriculum, from the statewide curriculum, what the teachers are doing. So there's one video in particular on colors and how to pronounce colors and say colors. And there's another one on how to count. There's another one, how to act, behavior. So those teachers can literally teach through the curriculum, and then they can find a video to reinforce the lesson that's being taught. And it's a great way of reinforcing, but at the same time having fun. And you mentioned the idea of children and adults. They get up and they do it, but they start smiling. So there's something special in a smile. They say, and I quote, "Your smile is your logo. Your personality, it's your business card. And the way you make people feel long after you meet them, it becomes your trademark." And so what better way to help the emotional climate in a classroom than through movement that it only takes a small amount of time and to get that done.
Would this also be open to homeschool parents?
Absolutely. In fact, we've had homeschool students who've literally come out to some of our presentations at the local libraries. So this summer, we kicked off by going out to the libraries and talking about the fun of reading, the joy of reading. And we had homeschool kids who would come out and say, "Hey, we watch you every day." And it's nothing more exhilarating. It's nothing more better than to hear parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles say, "Hey, our kids are homeschooled, but we're doing Move to Learn every single day." That's impact.
I would say, too, you don't even have to be in a homeschool or school setting. Is this free to use? Is this a free resource?
Move to Learn is a free resource, and it can be accessed literally anywhere in the world. Now, it was created right here in Mississippi for the students and teachers of Mississippi. However, it's being used all over the United States. In fact, there's a university professor in Delaware University who does it with her students who are getting ready to get their PhDs in science and physical science. And it's incredible to know that college kids getting their PhDs are doing brain breaks every day.
That's really cool.
But it's also being used across the United States, and it's being used worldwide. If you go to the website, I think it might have some metrics and some data about how that's happening. Okinawa, Japan, they do several a day. Australia, Mexico. And so the world is so small now that you have the world at the touch of a button. And I think it's a tremendous day to see that education have evolved. And what we're doing now, I truly believe, can transcend time. Since 2012, we still have students, teachers using Move to Learn. And it's just a great day for education in terms of how we help those teachers to support them.
All good stuff. Stick with us. We got more with Coach Calhoun coming up next.